What's up, coolers? Welcome back to another video of Talking Tiki Taka Global. So in this video, I'm going to talk about Real Madrid and their new manager Xavi Alonso and how I feel this team is going to perform under this new manager, and some of the predictions that I'm going to make in this video are going to absolutely come back and haunt me mid-season, or maybe I'll be proven right just like I was in last season. So those of you who are new to this channel, let me just give a quick recap what I said about Real Madrid prior to last season. Starting of the last season is that they're going to find the Champions League a bit difficult because it's a new format, and the way Real Madrid have sort of figured out prior to the last season how Champions League works, this new format kind of creates a different kind of dilemma for Real Madrid to sort of figure out. So they're going to struggle, and they did in the Champions League. And most of the criticism that I sent Real Madrid way last season was down to Ancelotti. I criticized him very vocally, very publicly, and some of the fans got absolutely outraged by that. So in this prediction, or let's say in this understanding of Real Madrid, or let's say the new Real Madrid, I'm going to talk about A, what Xavi Alonso is going to bring to the table for Real Madrid, and B, which are some of the players that are going to excel in this new system and under this new manager, and what are going to be some of the problems for them, and which players might need to sort of find their footing. And finally, we come to a conclusion about how the season is going to turn out for Real Madrid. So without further delay, let's get straight into it. So look, for as long as I've been watching Real Madrid, which is pretty much a very long period of time, Real Madrid's constant has always been success. The key word that you associate with Real Madrid is success. Regardless who is in charge, what kind of players Real Madrid have, the primary requirement and demand has always been you have to win trophies, and winning trophies is basically what they do. They are the most successful club in the world, in Europe. So there's no debating about it. But what, as a Barcelona fan, I have not seen that much in a Real Madrid team is playing good football, playing attractive football. For as long as I can remember, the most attractive brand of football that I have seen a Real Madrid team play was under Jose Mourinho back in 2010 and 2011 era. That time I felt that that was the most fearsome, that was the most dynamic, counter-attacking, fast-paced, quick transition, quick passes, rock heavy metal football that I saw from Real Madrid, and I absolutely loved it, even as a, let's say, rival, mostly because my team was doing decently well as well. We won the treble, and we pretty much considered the best football team ever combined. So in that situation, the rivalry between Barcelona and Real Madrid were really something to sort of behold, and it was truly a treat to the eyes. But after that, there was a spell under Zidane that, obviously, if you look at the team literally is made out of dreams. The kind of name that started for the team, it was absolutely crazy. So yes, that team also played a decent brand of football. But after that and since then, I cannot really recall a Real Madrid team playing a brand of football that got me out of my seat in let's say in appreciation, or let's just blew me away. Yes, success, as I've mentioned, has been a constant, but the brand of football is something that sort of always left a little bit to be desired. But that's where I think Xavi Alonso is going to be a shock to the entire system. Xavi Alonso's football is going to be, or has to be, a culmination, or let's say coming together of good brand of football and success. Good brand of football because that is what the manager demands, and that is what the manager knows. And success is what the club management will demand, and success is something that has to come by playing a good brand of football. So both of these things has to coexist. Without playing a good brand of football, Xavi Alonso cannot get the best out of his team, get the best out of his system, and if he cannot do that, then Real Madrid will not be competing for trophies, in which case he will be eventually sacked. So if Real Madrid and if Xavi Alonso is going to have a happy marriage, then we are going to see a good brand of football followed by, which basically good brand of football brings, is trophies. So this is where, as a neutral, or let's say as a football fan, I feel excited to see a good brand of football being played by Real Madrid after a long period of time. Now, some of you might come at me with pretty much wrenches on your hand that, did Ancelotti not play good brand of football? For me as a viewer, absolutely not. At times, it was very painful to see, but more interestingly, or let's say what Real Madrid requires is results. So Ancelotti got the results and fans were happy, but under Xavi Alonso, fans are going to be happy, which I feel is going to be the fact. But after watching a good brand of football and being happy also about the trophies that they might win as the season goes along. Now let's talk about some of the players that I feel are going to sort of create a name for themselves, even if they haven't done that already under Xavi Alonso, and some of the players that I feel are going to find it a little bit difficult. So first and foremost, I think the player that I consider the signing of the season so far is Dean Howson. Look, I am extremely biased towards Pau Cubarsí. He is probably my most favorite footballer in Barcelona's squad after Pedri right now. I find him to be abnormal. I find him to be a freak of nature. At 17 years of age, you cannot have that kind of maturity and that kind of composure being a center back. And the kind of center back that Hansi Flick demands you to be, it's almost unrealistic to expect that from a 17-year-old. So I gave that context, or let's say the understanding related to Pau Cubarsí, because I rate Dean Howson just as high. Whatever or what little I have seen of Dean Howson, I think he is literally one made for the future, and he's an absolute star even now. The way he performed in Spain, the way he performed last season for his team in the Premier League, it was absolutely something to really applaud and really take notice of, which Real Madrid did, and pretty much all the European clubs did. So I think the backline of Real Madrid this season is going to be much more reinforced, much better. More players are going to be, let's say, supporting Dean Howson. Carvajal coming back, Eder Militao coming back, Rudiger is there. Then you have reinforcements in the left back as well, someone they are bringing from Benfica. So it's going to be a drastically changed Real Madrid backline. And in that backline, I think at the forefront, I forgot Asensio, who was the find of the season for Real Madrid last season. So it's going to be an entirely different backline, and at the forefront of that backline is going to be Dean Howson, and he is my first pick, who I think is going to have a brilliant season under Xavi Alonso. The next player is someone that has not yet been able to showcase his full array of talents, and that's a good thing for us Barca fans, because I consider him as the answer of Real Madrid to Lamine Yamal. No, it's not Vinicius, it's not Mbappe, it's not Rodrigo, it's not Bellingham. It's Arda Güler. And I get into a lot of trouble for rating Arda Güler so highly, which I have been doing even before the season started last season. So there is a reason why Real Madrid and Barcelona, the two of the biggest clubs in the world, go after a single player and they almost fight it off. If you do not know about it, Arda Güler was a player that Barcelona and Real Madrid have been scouting for a long period of time, and both the clubs desperately wanted his sign. But eventually, Arda Güler was a Real Madrid fan, so Real Madrid eventually landed him. But I feel we did not see even 10% of Arda Güler, and under Xavi Alonso, he might finally have both the role and the opportunity to fully explode. In Leverkusen, we have seen that there is a Xhaka role and there is a Florian Wirtz role. And I feel Arda Güler fits perfectly in that Florian Wirtz role. And it's literally a matter of time that he finds his footing in this Real Madrid team, because as far as talent and calibers and skills go, we have seen flashes of that in last season. But under Xavi Alonso, in the next season, I feel he is going to take the world by storm, and we are going to finally see the full extension of Arda Güler. And lastly, the player that I think is eventually going to reinvent himself is Vinicius Junior. So I have an argument here that most of the Madrid fans might not agree with, but I feel Ancelotti has not been fair with Vinicius Junior. How? By putting him under way too much pressure, and Vinicius Junior has been almost used like a get out of jail free card for Ancelotti in the season that they have won the Champions League. If you look at that season, if you pick any random game, let's say for like match day 26 of Real Madrid in La Liga, you will find Vinicius being effective. You will find Vinicius being absolutely influential. You pick any random Champions League match, you will find Vinicius being extremely influential. So whether you call it a carry job, whether you call it being over dependent, you can label it whatever you want. But I feel Vinicius Junior has been an absolute blessing for Real Madrid, which eventually got to him last season. Be it the 10x harder, the Ballon d'Or fiasco, the team not performing well, not having a backline to support him, not having fullbacks to support him, whatever the reason might be, not having a proper midfield in place, whatever the reason might be, it was a bit too much to ask from a player who literally carried you to the Champions League and a domestic trophy last season. So eventually it got to him, and it created a lot more pressure than what he sort of needed. Yes, you can say that Mbappe scored the most number of goals. Mbappe came in and sort of kind of showed that how it's done. No, it's not the case. Mbappe is such kind of a talent that he will perform well regardless of the variables. But I think it was a bit unfair on Vinicius Junior to sort of again do it all by himself all over again. So I feel under Xavi Alonso, there is going to be much less pressure on Vinicius Junior. He can go about his stuff freely. He can do his stuff without thinking about, am I the only one being sort of responsible to get this team out of this tricky situation? There will be other players who will be sort of supporting him and enforcing him to do better. So in that situation, I think eventually Vinicius Junior is going to refine himself and is going to be maybe 10x Vinicius finally. I hope not as a Barcelona fan, but as a Brazil fan, I desperately hope so. And now let's come to the other spectrum, where I think some of the players are going to be a little bit iffy, maybe. So the first name is going to be pretty controversial. It's, I think, Kylian Mbappe. Just like I said that Arda Güler, Dean Howson, Vinicius Junior is pretty much are players like who fits into the Xavi Alonso system absolutely perfectly. I think Kylian Mbappe is not a Xavi Alonso system player. Now, keep this in mind that Kylian Mbappe is such an outrageous talent that he can influence a game even on a day that he is not having a good game. So yes, Mbappe will eventually score a few goals. He will be influential in some of the matches, but I just do not find Kylian Mbappe to be a Xavi Alonso system footballer. Now, one of two things can happen here. At this age, after having so much success, having a brilliant debut season at Real Madrid, if you are Kylian Mbappe, do you change yourself? Do you, let's say, eat the humble pie and tell yourself, okay, this is a new manager, this is a new system, this is more demanding, this requires more attention. I will change myself, I will reinvent myself. I am willing to understand that I have not entirely been doing what is required of me, but under this new manager, with this new system, I'm willing to take a step back and learn from it and reintroduce myself into this team. If you are Mbappe and if you're willing to do that, then you will definitely be a success in this system. But if you are rigid, if you are stubborn, if you think you are the biggest star in this team, if you think that the whole team is going to revolve around you, sorry, it's not going to work for Kylian Mbappe in that context. So this is a if question, that can Kylian Mbappe, or will Kylian Mbappe's ego let him unlearn and relearn then under Xavi Alonso? If he can do that, he will be a success. Otherwise, I think he will be out of the team. Because rest assured, Xavi Alonso will not be dependent on a single individual. He is more dependent. He is going to be more dependent on the entire system working. If one player doesn't fit the system, then the system will not change. The player will change. And I think there will be more than enough replacements for any footballer in Real Madrid. No one is indispensable. Then the player I think is also going to have a difficult learning curve is Trent Alexander-Arnold. This is one transfer that I couldn't really wrap my head around, because if you look at the season last season of Real Madrid, which position was the most vulnerable position for Real Madrid? You do not even have to think about it. It's the fullback. It was Lucas Vazquez, it was Valverde, it was Tchouaméni, it was God knows whoever. Literally, you cannot say who were the fullbacks of Real Madrid last season. There were no constant names, there were no reliable names. It has always been the biggest weakness for Real Madrid last season in the fullback position. So if you are going to, let's say, replenish that position with a signing, why are you signing a fullback who is prodigiously highly rated in attacking and midfield, but infamously rated in the defensive matrices? So that to me didn't make a lot of sense, but I clearly understand that he adds way lot more to this team than just being a defender. But I just do not buy the argument which a lot of Madrid fans are making, that we bought him as a replacement for even in the midfield. He can play as a midfielder, he can go up, but you do not buy a fullback, especially when fullback has been your biggest weakness, and then you come up with an argument that maybe he can fit into the midfield. No, you are not buying a fullback to play him in the midfield when your biggest weakness has been in the fullback position. So that to me is going to be another learning curve that Trent Alexander-Arnold has to go through. And what's his age? I think 28 maybe, 27, 28 maybe. So in that kind of age, again, just like the Kylian Mbappe context, are you willing to change yourself? Are you willing to sort of eat your ego and accept that, yes, if I want to play for this team, if I want to be an influential figure in this new system, under this new manager, then I have to unlearn and then relearn. So that will eventually depend a lot on the player himself. Now let's come to the last player that I'm going to talk about, which is a very complicated case, and that is Rodrigo. So how I like to understand the Rodrigo situation is pretty much how Rafinha context was in last season. So what happened with Rafinha is he lost trust in the badge, he lost trust on the system, he lost trust on the manager, feeling that no matter what he does, he's never good enough. The manager substitutes him after 60th minute, regardless how he played. He was seeing fans not backing him, seeing that Nico Williams shirt and everything. So he eventually lost that faith on let's say, the entity that he represented. So I feel Rodrigo is kind of in that same context a little bit. Why? Because Rodrigo has been performing really well, and all of his performances has been going under the radar for a long period of time, especially because Vinicius has been outshining him, Bellingham coming in and having an amazing season in his debut. So all of those things, all of those factors eventually always sort of shadowed the contribution that Rodrigo had for this team. And this eventually, I think, got to the player, feeling like never valued, underappreciated, not getting that kind of recognition that he deserves or worked hard for. He was always that silent type, never really talking much, never attracting spotlights, and always just doing what is required for the team. So keeping that in mind, I feel that eventually it's going to be the kind of football I talked about in the beginning of the video, the kind of brand of football that we are going to see from Xabi Alonso, that is going to be a very key decisive element in how the team does, or how the team does in terms of winning trophies and so on. And eventually this both has to coexist in Real Madrid. It cannot be just good, beautiful football and no, we are not winning anything. No, that's not gonna fly. You have to play good football, and you have to play good football under Xabi Alonso, and you have to win trophies under Florentino Perez. So these two things have to coexist. And finally, I have talked about the players who might find it a new breath of fresh air, and some players who might find it a bit difficult. And this is how I feel the season is going to go about for Real Madrid. But rest assured, it's going to be a season that we are absolutely going to remember, and I cannot wait to find out how it goes.